Hi everyone, this is Kyle, and this is my first wrestling review. Now, just before I get into that, I'd like to quickly give a shout out to Dinosaur Avenger 1989 for continuously telling me to do wrestling reviews. He's even mentioned me in his YouTube account, so I thank you for that, Matt. This one's for you, and if it sucks, well, that's too bad, but at least I'm starting, right? That's the main thing. Another thing I'd like to quickly address is that I had started doing my wrestling review of Royal Rumble 2011 20 minutes ago, but the thing is that the review was at 20 minutes and I was still talking, so apparently I can talk about wrestling for a very long time and have no idea that time has elapsed, so that could be a problem, so I'll try to keep it clear and concise and quick, but bear with me, it's my first time doing this and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. So, Royal Rumble 2011, it's the road to WrestleMania. We're going to have a better idea of what some of the main feuds might be for WrestleMania. And we started it off with Edge versus Dolph Ziggler for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now the stipulation for this match was that Edge could not use his spear or else he'd lose the world title. And I find that this stipulation can work sometimes, like when they did it with Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels a few years ago at Survivor Series. Michaels couldn't use the Sweet Chin Music, so he had to use a bunch of submission moves instead, like the crossface, the figure four, and the sharpshooter. And then he lost the match because he hesitated doing the Sweet Chin Music to Randy Orton, which gave Randy Orton just enough time to hit the RKO. And I thought that that really made the match entertaining and made it a little bit better than what it would have been because, you know, Michaels was working with Randy Orton, so he was limited anyway, because Randy Orton sucks. Sorry if you're a Randy Orton fan, you're going to hear me probably talk about how much I hate Randy Orton and how Cena is about a zillion times better than Randy Orton. But anyway, that's another video. So I think that that worked then with Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels, and I don't think that it worked as well this time because eventually Edge used the spear anyway. And before I go into that, I'd just like to say that this match is still really good, and I think that it's because that Ziggler is really becoming a good wrestler. I've been liking him since he came back on Raw as Dolph Ziggler in his match against Batista, and I was like, you know what, that was like a squash, but I was still really entertained. And even though the Ziggler was in the Spirit Squad before, I like that we don't associate that with him, and that he was able to start anew with a new gimmick and everything, because I think it really works for him, and I'm really enjoying his work. He just seems to, you know, bump a lot better, and he's like bouncing around everywhere, and for some reason that just works. Like, he's awesome. He kind of reminds me of a young Shawn Michaels, how he used to sell, like back in the 90s. He's obviously not as good as Michaels, but there's a little bit of a comparison there. And he even had some, like, 2 neck breakers that just looked so crisp and perfect. They just looked awesome, especially when Edge was between the ropes, and then Ziggler did the neck breaker. Another thing too about this match is that the crowd was really into it and responsive. I mean, Ziggler put Edge into a headlock, and the crowd was into it. Like, they were chanting Edge's name and getting into it during a slow part of the match, which is generally, you know, the time when the crowd dies. Like, if William Regal would do that, I don't think the crowd would be chanting. Maybe it's just Ziggler and Edge, or the crowd was really hot that night, I don't know. The crowd was really into it. The action was good, there's some nice reversals, Ziggler sold really well, and the part that I didn't like is that at one point at the very end, the ref gets knocked out, and then Kelly came down. Kelly came down to attack Vicky, so they were both out, and so Edge was allowed to use the spear, and then he used the unprettier kill switch to finish off the match, which was awesome, because at that point I was like, holy crap, Christian is going to win the Royal Rumble, go to WrestleMania, and it's going to be Edge versus Christian for the World Heavyweight Championship. I was hoping so much. Didn't happen, but there's 2 things here. Number 1, the kill switch and prettier, that worked for the match, and that's what the finish should have been instead of the spear. I think that you still would have got pop from the crowd for doing that, and they would know that that's how it's going to end. So it was like kind of reverse booking there. It was like a TNA booking or something like that. It was like they wanted Kevin Nash and Booker T to feel at home, so they started doing kind of crazy stuff like that kind of booking, having 2 world title matches first and then the Divas match, having, you know, the spear happen anyway, having Nexus attack Randy Orton for no apparent reason. They just wanted Kevin Nash and Booker T to feel at home. So I understand a little bit there, WWE. So it was still a really good match. I'd give it about 3.5 stars. But I think that they should have just not had Edge do the spear or have Kelly come down and attack Vicky. I assume they'll explain that at some point, but still. After that, we had The Miz versus Randy Orton. It was a Randy Orton match. Nothing special. His clotheslines just look like crap. He's just like, you know, he attacks like in such a weird fashion. And then he does the stomp around, and he thinks that he's all epic, and he's not. I don't know, 2.25 star. I don't even really want to talk about it. Nexus attacked out of the blue. Miz is actually awesome in a little bit of a way. Like, he's much better than Randy Orton. And I think that another thing too is that they shouldn't have had Randy Orton in this title match. We've had Randy Orton or John Cena in title matches for like a year or two now. Like, there hasn't been one pay-per-view where one of them either wasn't a champion or going for the title. And that really sucks. WWE does not have any faith in anybody. You should have given John Morrison the chance to face The Miz. The match was better. The match that they had on Raw was a lot better than this. And the crowd is really into John Morrison, and it gives 2 young guys a chance. And the buy rates aren't the greatest right now anyway, so might as well see if something new works. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe paying fans are getting tired of seeing John Cena and Randy Orton continuously going for the title. Give the new guys a chance. They seem to be wanting to, but they're still apprehensive, and I think that they should just go for it. Nothing bad is going to come out of John Morrison losing to The Miz on a pay-per-view. I mean, it makes Randy Orton look bad because now he's always in title matches and he's losing half of them because he can't always win them. So 2.25 stars for that. And then we had the Divas match. I'm not even going to go into that. 1 star. Each champ. It became a 4-way. Nothing too special there. Now we're at the Royal Rumble, the main point of this entire event. And it was pretty damn good. We first had Punk coming out, and then the rest of Core, and then the Nexus, and we had a big huge brawl before the match had even started. And then that was just such a good way to get everyone into the match. The crowd was chanting like crazy. They really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed that. And then they had everyone leave except for Punk, and then they had Daniel Bryan come out. So they had, you know, the 2 top Ring of Honor stars that were in that are in WWE going at it. That has to be a shot at the internet fans. I'm sure that Vince somehow thinks that this is a good idea, and I think that he has some faith in them. That's one of the reasons why I enjoyed the match so much, is because we had Daniel Bryan and Punk going at it for a very long time, and until Daniel Bryan was eliminated. We had Punk getting his ass owned almost the entire time. Like, he was just getting destroyed, like, every time that somebody would come in. Like, he was doing his fair share of offense, but, like, they were really going after Punk in this match. Until Nexus, of course, came out and just dominated. They only had, like... another thing, too, that I like to see was Heskey Harris defending Punk. Saying, you know, you can attack me, but I'm defending Punk till the end here. You're not going to touch him. This is my team leader, and we are a team. We're a cohesive unit. That's how you book things. Even though that they're heels and they can betray each other any second, you can't always have, oh, they're a team, but their egos will get to them and they're going to have to betray each other. You eventually do that, but you have to show that, like, some teams are going to look out for each other, and that's how they work. That's how you book things. And then Nexus just starts owning everyone in the Rumble, and then there was just Nexus, and they were waiting for people, and it slowed the match down because they had to wait for the next person out, and obviously they're going to destroy them. but it made things interesting because you're always thinking, okay, who's going to be the guy to stop them? And they had Booker T come out for a surprise entrance, and I liked it because everyone went wild for it, and he actually did some damage, did his little spin Rooney, and then got knocked out, like right away. And it was like, ugh. It was perfect. That's exactly how you book a heel team. You know that they work better or best when they're working together, and they can't be stopped. So you have this legend that has not been seen for so long in WWE. You have him show up, the fans go wild for him, and he gets knocked out right away. That's your heel heat right there. That's how you book things. I was so impressed with how they did the first 20 minutes of this match, because they even had, like, you know, Daniel Bryan versus William Regal, the slugfest, Chavo Guerrero coming in and doing a little bit of a push by doing all the suplexes. The first 20-30 minutes were really nice in this. But then obviously the Khali came out. He took out Husky Harris. Thankfully they knocked him out. So it was still Nexus owning the Rumble. And then they had John Cena come out. Now, a lot of people, I think, will be upset that John Cena was the one to single-handedly destroy Nexus, but this has been his mission and goal since they showed up 6 months ago. And he is, as much as some of us hate to say it, the biggest force in the WWE. We know he's strong, and it's not like he's a little guy, you know, like Rey Mysterio. John Cena looks the part. Like, if I had the option of facing like Randy Orton or John Cena in a real fight, I would definitely pick Randy Orton. Like, John Cena just, like, when he like flexes, it's just like, no, I don't want to mess with this guy. So anyway, John Cena took them all out, and I think what they could have done to make it just a little bit better was have Cena take them on and not get eliminated. Kind of do what Booker T did, without getting eliminated and without eliminating anyone either. And then you have, you know, another guy that comes out and he starts helping Cena. So now it's 2-on-4 and then 3-on-4, but always have Nexus still beating them and taking out the mid-carders, only leaving like Cena always in there. And then eventually you have, like, I don't know, it would just be so much more entertaining, because then eventually when the next big guy that comes out, then you know that, okay, now we have a chance. It's just one thing that I thought could have helped the match just a little bit. Then after that, it was just Punk and Cena left in the ring, and then the other guys get to come in, and then Hornswoggle came out. Punk got eliminated. I was like, damn it, I wanted him to win. And then the next big thing was Diesel, Kevin Nash coming out. He dyed his hair, which was awesome, which makes me think that there's a chance of him actually sticking around for a while, and I'll probably talk about another video where I talk about how screwed TNA are with the Main Event Mafia storyline because of this. I'm really making it seem like I really hate Randy Orton, I hate TNA, but I don't. I just want to get that out there because this is my first video, and I don't, but I'll probably talk about a few things where I don't agree with them. And there's things that I don't agree with WWE either. I'll get around to all of this. So, Kevin Nash was awesome. I marked out like mad. I was like, that was probably my second biggest mark out of the night, other than Daniel Bryan and Punk starting it off. So then we had everyone just coming out, and it just really slowed down. Punk got eliminated. We had Wade Barrett coming out with Ziggler Jackson. That's somewhat later in the match. There was no other big entrances like Christian, Evan Bourne, or Triple H, who I thought was going to be returning that night. Although I did like having Ziggler and Randy Orton show up. That kind of added to the match because that they weren't scheduled to be into the Rumble. And then eventually we had Alberto Del Rio winning the match, with Miz being the one to eliminate John Cena, which might lead to a John Cena versus Miz feud, and Alberto Del Rio versus Edge, and possibly Christian, because there's still a chance that Christian might show up at some point and have a triple threat. But then we could also have Randy Orton versus John Cena versus The Miz, all depending on what happens at the Elimination Chamber and what they want to set up for WrestleMania. So yeah, Alberto Del Rio, I think he's just a little bit too, not young, but he has to pay his dues a little bit more. And yeah, 3 3/4 stars for that match. So subscribe. I'm sorry that this is ending just all of a sudden.